We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully your day is going well. It is Friday when they'll be hearing this. And this is a show that people have had a lot of anticipation about, and a guest that people have had a lot of anticipation about. And there's been a lot of back and forth with another TikToker who happens to be a Trump supporter. His name is Jeff, and he's on TikTok. I think his handle is Jeff_HVAC_69 or Jeff_debates_69. So, first of all, Jeff, welcome to the show, and I appreciate you showing up, and we'll spend the next hour talking about some shit.
Love it. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I guess this is the first hoop I had to jump through because a lot of people didn't think I would show up. So here I am, guys. In the flesh. I'm here in a real person. It's true. Well, on Zoom,
Right.
Have you seen that guy, Rational? Have you seen that guy on Zoom who does the fake interviews? He's got long hair.
No,
He'll
I
do
haven't
like
seen, I haven't
he'll
seen
do
him.
like an interview like jogging, or he'll do like an interview like a job interview like eating,
Oh, okay.
anyway, it's
No,
hilarious.
no,
Just
we
check.
got we got TikTokers that eat while they're doing their TikToks. I don't know why the fuck they do that. Can't you eat it first and then do the TikTok,
That's the worst.
or wait 2
I
minutes
know.
and
I
then
don't.
eat?
I know. You know what? But when you're debating and you're eating, it actually is a sign of confidence. So maybe that's why they do it. But anyway,
You said you had the first question for me.
absolutely. Sure. So why are you going to vote for Trump over Biden over Trump?
Because I'm not interested in overturning elections, undermining democracy, or overthrowing the government. All of those things are not only been attempted, but it's in his plans if you listen to what he's saying now. I might ask the same question. Why would you vote for Trump over anybody fucking else after listening to Trump for the last 7 years, seeing all the things you've seen, hearing all the things you've heard? What is it about Trump that makes you want to vote for him?
Because I think that he's a strong leader. I think the things that he ran on and the promises that he made, he actually fulfilled a few of those promises, which is a lot more than I could say for the Democrats. But to ask you another question, because we can go question for question too, it's fine.
It doesn't
But
matter.
to ask you a follow-up question, what has he been? How do you know he tried to overthrow an election and stage, like, essentially what you're saying is he tried to stage a coup, right? And
Absolutely.
he's treasonous, correct?
I don't know what the official definition of treason, but it's, in my non-professional mind, it seems treasonous. Well, the fact of the matter is he carried on meetings regarding putting together fake electors. He went and he tried to coerce secretaries of state in Georgia and other states. I mean, that's all kind of evidence of somebody trying to do something fucking fishy, because no other president has ever done that. Why would he do that if he's not trying to overthrow the government?
Right. Do you think that just because something happens to a president that's never happened before is like some determination on guilt?
No, but what are you talking about? What happened to him that's different than any other president?
Yeah, he's being indicted 4 times, 91 charges. Has that ever happened?
It's never happened, but that's not indicative of this, because he's done things no other president has done. Desperate times call for desperate measure.
Yeah,
You
you're
fuck
right.
up, you got to get a reaction to that.
Right, I agree. He's done things that no other presidents have ever done. He called out the deep state. He called out the oligarchs. He put a target on his chest, right? But that was just to empower the American people. I don't see a problem with that.
Well, you're not getting enough information. Let me ask you this question: where do you get your information? What's your source of information?
Sure, it comes from. I just use deductive reasoning. It comes from my intuition, my higher rationale of thought.
Now that doesn't work, because you got to have the base information and then go with the intuition and deduction after that. You got to have the basic information. You can't just come up with news stories out of your mind. Where do you get those news stories?
I agree. Wait, but hang on. Before sure, I get them. I get it from a variety of sources. I Google, I use X, I use TikTok. I gather all the information to make a well-informed decision. Right
Right, right. Well,
now,
I can
but
Google a
let me
lot
ask you
of.
this.
Go ahead.
I know Google is useless. I agree, but I'll ask you this. You just said so when I said my intuition and I use deductive reasoning, you understand that when even if the source is correct or not, you have to interpret it for yourself, which is deductive reasoning.
Well, assuming you can recognize what's wrong and what's right. I mean, that's the important thing. I don't use deductive reasoning. I use common sense and logic. I look at stories. I get stories from everywhere, but then I dig into those stories and try to find out the facts. Like you, I mean, it sounds like what you're saying is I hear something and then I decide whether it's good or not. That's not
Yeah,
logical. That's not
exactly.
reasonable.
So when you hear something from a trusted source, you automatically believe it.
No, I said that's what you did. I told you what I do is when I get a tip on a news story, I check multiple sources, sources that can be trusted, not just MSNBC and that sort of thing. There are other better sources that you can get that. And I don't talk about it until I feel comfortable that I have the facts as opposed to just going off
So
half
you
cocked
use
for an
deductive
attack.
reasoning.
Sure.
So you use deductive reasoning, just
Well,
like I do, right? You have to extrapolate the information from the different sources to come up with your own determination of what's going on, correct?
right. And the question I asked you was who are those sources? I mean, where you get your water, whether it's good water or not depends on if it's a dirty well or a clean well. Now, when you go to Google, it'll take you to certain sites. What sites are you gleaning your information from? I can tell you what
Well, it
I
just
get it from.
depends if, sure. Again, like you agree that when you look up information, sometimes you'll fall into like a source that isn't like uh completely accurate, right? So therefore, you have to use your reasoning to deduce that this is not correct, right? So it doesn't really matter. It just matters that you're truth tracking and you're gathering all the information to make a well-informed decision. Essentially, what we're talking about is, are you more truth tracking than me? But we'll get to that later. Let's keep it simple for the audience for now.
Remember,
Okay. I don't want to get
remember one
too deep into
something.
philosophy.
Remember something, Jeff. This is my show. We'll do what we want to do later. But and I'm just fucking with you here. No, my point is isn't how you how you deduce the information. It's where you get it from, and then what you do with it once you have it. You know, you're not telling me the sources. Are you going to Fox News? Are you going to Breitbart? What are you doing? Where are the
No,
places that
I
you get?
just listed them. Remember, I get it.
No, you
Sure, I
didn't
get my
list.
sources from
You said Google.
I get my
That's not a
sources
source.
from okay, hang on. Yeah, it's a search engine. I get it, right? I get my sources from Google being a search engine when I search in a specific fact. One source. Second source, sure, I'll look at X, I'll look at TikTok, I'll look at Facebook. I'll take all the information that's coming out about it from different sources, and then I'll use deductive reasoning to make a well-informed decision, just like you do.
Well,
We probably both use the same sources.
uh,
Right?
I
We
don't.
just come up with different determinations and we
I don't.
extrapolate the information differently.
All the sources you described there might be someplace where I would get the initial information, but I would never determine whether what I was talking about was truthful or not based on those sources. I would dig deeper than that.
The best source you can have is a primary source. So, for example, if I Google and if I Google, Gavin Newsom let Xi Jinping come to his city and they cleaned up the city, right? I would actually look for a peer-reviewed study on that source. So I click to Google, I do the search, I click on the website, right? There's going to be links below that give me the actual source, the actual study, peer-reviewed.
Right.
Right,
Yeah.
that's the best form of information is, but again, you can watch a video on TikTok that's not AI generated, right, and you can garner information from that, right? Like at bombs going off in Gaza, shit like that, right? But even then you have to be really careful about AI. So I mean, again, I am very truth tracking, so I can garner information even from lies, even from people not telling the truth.
Please,
They're still
please.
telling me something.
Well, they might be telling you something, but it's not something valid to report on. If I look at something and I know it's a lie, I just disregard it. I'm not going to say, well, that's a lie, so I'm going to say it's the opposite. That's not.
But how do you know it's a lie though?
You just said if I'm watching something, if it's a lie.
No,
Yeah.
how do you know it's a lie?
Well, there are a lot of things on TikTok and on X and all the stuff that you can tell a lie is because it's just contrary to whatever news reporting is out there. I mean, like, for
Wait,
example,
so if 99% of the sources are saying this one thing, but one source says the opposite, that automatically makes this one source incorrect?
if 99 sources say one is one incorrect, chances are that's true. But then you have to look at the facts in the news story and then make that determination based on the facts. Let's talk about one such that I think we'll probably disagree on. The 2020 election. Did you think that was fraudulent? Did you think that was stolen? Or did you think that Joe Biden won that election fair and square? What's your thoughts?
Oh yeah, he is not duly elected, that's for sure.
And what's your
Let's face
evidence
it,
on that?
right?
What's your evidence on that? What source did you do to get that?
Sure, sure. There was emergency. Yeah, there's a lot of sources on that one. I would say the cover up of Hunter Biden's laptop
Oh,
that affected the
please.
election. Do you agree?
No, because they've
No,
gone through.
you disagree that them covering up Hunter Biden's laptop?
Well, let's talk about Hunter Biden's laptop. Hunter Biden's laptop was in possession of the
Mhm.
FBI during the time Trump was in office. They went through it and they said, there's not enough here to do anything. And it wasn't till after he was out of office and now he's trying to compete with, they can't even come up with anything serious on Biden. So they got to go back in time and pull this shit out of the spider webs. The thing about it is up to now, every investigation, every hearing, they have not had one bit of evidence. Because if there was, there'd be a charge of some sort. There has been not one bit of evidence. And for you to
Right.
that has anything to do with the election is fucking absurd.
Wait, do you think that just because someone isn't charged with something that makes them like not guilty of it? No, right? Of course. You could still be
I,
guilty and not
I,
be charged. So the
not,
second point
I don't even know what
is
that
that
question's
the
about.
reason the yeah, the question is about you just said like, well, he's being charged, so this is like means he's guilty.
What did
This
they
is your
find?
logic, right?
What did they've had it a long time. What did they find on Hunter Biden's laptop that says the election was stolen? Anything, one shred of
What did they
evidence.
find?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, again, that has like again, you're missing my point.
No, I'm getting your point.
Yeah,
We're
you
talking
just
about
missed it.
you
Totally.
just you
My
just
point
said
was this was my point. Hang on. The reason the election I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
no, that's fine. That's fine.
I apologize for that. But the reason the election is what I'm saying was like not fair and duly elected is because they covered up information about Hunter Biden's laptop, right? And look, you can call it the letter from the 50 agents, right? And 5 ex CIA head of the CIA agents, right? They created a letter and said it was earmarked for Russia disinformation, which then greenlit the American people to think, well, this could possibly be Russian disinformation, so we're not going to like take this into account when we're voting for Biden, right? This is just one of the things that affected the outcome of the election. And then later on, they did a poll. You could disagree with me if you want, and I'll give you yours. They did a poll, and a large percentage of Americans said that if they would have known that the content on Hunter Biden's laptop was true, they probably would have not voted like they had voted.
Wow, that's a stretch. First of all, we know that there was disinformation and the Russians were involved in the 2020 election, but we also know they were working into the benefit of Donald Trump. They said as much. So to suggest they were the ones getting the disinformation to get Biden to win, that's fucking ridiculous. And how can anybody say that they would have changed their mind about what's on Hunter Biden's laptop if we don't know what the fuck it is? Maybe there's some dick pics from Hunter Biden that have no bearing on anything. You guys been wearing this thing out for 5 years and have found nothing on it. How come there is no charges from this laptop if it's so egregious?
Right, right. Again, are you saying that just because there's no
Don't ask me a
charges
question.
doesn't
Answer
mean
the
it would have
question.
just right?
Don't.
Right. Okay. Okay. Sure. What was the question?
The question is, how can people change their minds about an election
Yeah.
regarding with regards to something on a laptop of Hunter Biden's that nobody knows what was on there, save for some dick pics. What was on that laptop that told us something? And then if there was something on that laptop, how come there are no charges?
Right. Okay. Perfect. A two-part question. So people do know what was on the laptop. There's websites just with all the pictures and all the information on that laptop.
Do
But
tell, do
the
tell.
reason,
Give me some examples.
yeah, I mean, you could just go on. You can look anywhere and find it. I can give you a source right now.
I,
Hunter
I,
Biden's laptop, if you
I
really
don't want
want.
the source because it's bullshit information.
Okay.
If
Perfect.
you
Perfect.
feel
So
if you
again,
feel
again,
as strongly about this, you would
okay,
know it. I would think.
let me answer your question. So anyway, what I'm telling you is it's not that it like it's there's nothing on the laptop that says Joe Biden was interfering with the election. No, that's not what I'm saying. It just shows that his son is a complete crackhead degenerate. That's what it shows. And therefore, do you think people are going to be more prone to vote for someone whose son is a crackhead?
You
Yes
mean
or no?
you mean like Donald Trump Jr., who is
Perfect.
obviously a
Let
crackhead?
me ask you a second question. Yeah, again, what source do you have to say that he did anything? Probably none, right? Because they're almost squeaky clean. Now, my
Almost
second point.
squeaky clean. They're getting sued for $250
Well,
million
we can talk
for
about that.
grifting the country.
Don't hang on, don't obfuscate. Hang on, relax. We're gonna
I'm
get
not.
there. Trust me, we're
No,
gonna
you
get there.
don't have.
So
Don't tell me
now
to
to answer
fucking
your question,
relax on my show. Just go. Give me something of
all right,
value.
okay. Okay, I'm giving you all the value. Trust me. So the second part of your question, you asked why are there no charges? Why is there no wait? Was that the second part, or did I already answer the first? So why is there no charges? Sure, because he didn't do. Yeah, who cares about being charged or not, right? It's all about the American people knowing the truth. I don't care about charges. Like as long as people know the truth, then they're not going to vote for that person again. And if they, a large majority, not a large majority, but they did a poll, and who knows about these polls, right? But the poll did say that they would have changed their vote if they would have known the laptop was real. Now, this isn't enough to change the whole trajectory of the election. I agree. This is just one point. You
It
ready to move
depends.
on to the next one?
It depends on who took the poll and who they asked. Polls are bullshit mostly. They're
I
mostly
agree.
bullshit. The polls told us that
Mhm.
that Barack Obama would lose in 2012, that Hillary Clinton would win in 2016, that Donald Trump would win in 2020, and there would be a red wave in 2022. The polls predicted all those things, and they were wrong every fucking time. But my point
No, the
is,
polls never predicted a red wave. That was just a piece of propaganda and rhetoric, right?
no, they did. They absolutely did. You
What
got to
poll?
understand, unlike you Googling some stuff and hoping to happen upon stuff, I read about this stuff all day. I know what was going on. And I was even one of the people that said there's not going to be a red wave. There can't be a red wave because of all the fucked up, stupid things that the Republicans did, like overturning
Yeah,
Roe
but
v.
we still
Wade.
took back the House, no?
Huh?
We still took back the House, correct? We took
Yeah,
back power,
by four.
which thank God, because who knows what these Democrats would be doing with all that power? Probably
Well,
nothing good, right?
let me ask you this: now that the Republicans have the majority in the House, what have they accomplished? What have they done? Zero.
Yeah, we're
They
we're
can't even
moving
get
towards
along with
sure.
themselves.
Good question. Good question. So, we've done a lot of committee hearings. There's been an impeachment inquiry on Biden, right? Which is okay, right? They've slowed down the machine of the Biden spending bills, which who knows what type of inflation we'd have now if we wouldn't have slowed them down, right? We know the conservatives love to conserve and cut the deficit, unless it comes to tax cuts, because those work great. But that's generally what conserve is, right? It's not passing new bills that are going to affect the future generations. It's about lowering the deficit, decreasing our credit, and generally making it an easier lifestyle for the American people.
Would you say that is the standard, the standard fare for the Republicans? That's what they do. They always do. Are you saying that's what they do? Cut
What do
taxes,
you mean?
cut the debt. Well, my point is that in Donald Trump's administration, okay, Donald Trump doesn't know fuck all about fuck all. He's not a Republican. He's not a conservative. He added $8 trillion to the debt. That is hardly conservative. And one of the main reasons he did is because he gave $2 trillion to the rich, and they said, "Oh, it'll pay itself back," which it has not. That is hardly conservative. So don't tell me the Republicans are conservative. Hell, the Republicans now aren't even really Republicans. They bear no resemblance to any Republican I ever knew.
So I like what you said here, right? Because definitely Trump was on the fringe of actually being a Republican. We know he used to be a Democrat, right? And when
Yeah.
you say he added 8 trillion to the debt, we know 5 or 6 of that came from COVID-19, right? Like, so you're blaming
Oh,
him passing
yeah.
stimulus bill. I mean, come on, man.
I am
What
blaming
was he
him for
supposed to
COVID.
do?
I am blaming him
Wait,
for
hang on.
COVID.
The bureaucracy shut down America and he had to cope with it and he did the best he could do.
No, he didn't do anything. That's the problem. You know,
Oh, Operation Warp Speed?
wait a minute. Let's go back farther than that. We wouldn't have needed Operation Warp Speed had he done anything. Let's talk about what happened. The pandemic
Yeah,
starts,
he
right?
cut the Obamas. Yeah.
What he what?
He
What did
he
you?
cut the Obama's pandemic response team. Is this where
Yeah.
you're going to go with it?
No, I
Yeah,
wasn't even
I
going to
already
talk.
knew it.
I wasn't even going to talk about that. The point of
Oh,
it
okay.
is when it came into being and we knew this pandemic would happen, he called it a hoax and did absolutely nothing. And you know why he did nothing? Because he thought it would harm him in the upcoming election. Let's just act like it's not there. It's not a big deal, and we won't do anything. So then this thing went out of fucking control. Then
Wait,
he then
it
then
did
then
harm him.
well, yeah, I know. That's where
Go
Donald
ahead.
Trump is
Sorry.
stupid. That's where Donald Trump is stupid. He's
Well, you
damned if he
admit that he was
did.
right.
He was right
That's true.
about
That's true. Go ahead.
how am I admitting he's
Go ahead.
right?
He was right about it harming him. You agree. Go ahead.
Well, he thought if it was going to be bad, it was going to affect him. So he was going to act like it's not there. So instead, he acted like it didn't exist, and this thing ran wild. Had Donald Trump done what any other president in that position had done and done anything at all, we would have far less people than the million people that died. That blood is on Donald Trump's hand.
Okay.
And when
Wait.
that crossed the economy, that's why
Okay.
it's on Donald Trump's hands, because if he'd done something, we wouldn't have been shut down and crashed economy. So it is on Donald Trump.
Okay. 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 Perfect. Perfect. So you're about to just walk into a corner on this one because
Oh, can't wait.
to say that. Yeah, okay. So to say that less lives would have been lost based off his actions is purely conjecture. You don't know that for one way or the other,
I know the
right? We
CDC
could
said
just look
that.
at the facts.
I know the CDC said that.
So what the CDC also says an abortion is an unaliving of a fetus that never ends in a life, which most people on your end are going to say abortions actually save babies' lives in some points, right? So
And
the
say women's
CDC isn't
lives.
always going to back you up on these points.
Well, who else are you going to
Sorry?
go to in a pandemic? What are we going to call Donald Trump's
Yeah,
team with Stephen Miller and Don
you're
Jr. and
not gonna
figure out what to do?
you're gonna yeah, you're gonna use the Obama's freaking pandemic response team that has ties to WHO and the people funding the Wuhan virus, the Wuhan lab in China. What?
Jeff, I got to
Why
be
do you think
honest
he
with you.
cut ties with them?
You got to cut yourself away from the conspiracy theorist and QAnon and all this bullshit because you're spewing shit that's just fucking crazy. Makes no
Wait,
sense.
are you
There's been no proof
disagreeing
of it.
wait, you don't think that wait, where do you think the virus came from? And don't say bats.
Well, I know it came from China. So what? What where it come?
Okay, from a lab funded by America. Dr. Fauci specifically, who's in charge of that funding.
Please.
Specifically, yeah.
Then
Sorry.
why hasn't he
Wait, how
been?
is this a conspiracy? These are all facts.
Then why isn't Fauci in jail? Why hasn't he been indicted? I mean,
Look, dude, again,
you guys spew shit and you make shit up,
can I answer
and
your
then you
question?
act as if it's real, and it's not real.
Again, you asked me a question, right? Let me answer it.
Yeah,
So
go
the
ahead.
reason he's not in jail is just because he's a bureaucrat. He's a paid shill, right? And again, just because I'll say this point again, just because people aren't getting locked up and indicted for this from this two-tier justice system doesn't mean they're not guilty. Rand Paul caught freaking Fauci lying under oath. Why would he lie? Why would he lie about the funding? Why would they disregard what the chief officer of the World Health Organization was saying?
You're going to
That doesn't
Rand
make
Paul
sense
as
to
your
me.
hero? That fucking
No, he's not my
goofball?
hero.
He's a
How
goofball.
is he like just because he brought Fauci into account for what he did?
No, because he's a conspiracy theorist, QAnon
So
following
wait, are
dumb
you
fuck.
disagreeing? No, he's not. That's
Yes, he
BS. So
is.
are you
Yes, he is.
disagreeing that we funded the Wuhan? Are you disagreeing that we funded gain of function research in Wuhan? Yes or no?
I honestly don't know that we did. I haven't seen facts that we did, and I don't know if we
Okay,
didn't.
so you're just arguing from ignorance. You don't know. You don't know the facts. You just are. This is
Oh, I know
apparently
the.
the one thing you didn't do your research on.
Oh,
Sorry.
you want to go that route? We can go that route because we're finding
Why
out a lot
not?
of
It's
things you don't
true.
know
We're
about.
trying to
See,
name one.
you're trying to divert. That wasn't the point of the conversation. Now, if America funded something that was going against America, that wouldn't surprise me. We got a lot of problems in America. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm going after the Republicans because they're a dumpster fire and they're trying to damage this country. And I'm
Wait,
worried
but
about my
you
grandkids.
all your
But
ideals. Sorry.
no, but what I'm saying is what I'm saying is the bottom line is we weren't talking about what happened in Wuhan, China. We were talking about what Donald Trump actually did as president of the United States when there was a pandemic. And you know what he did? Nothing but talk shit. That's all he did. Tell me one thing he did other than
Okay,
warp
so
speed,
he
because he
didn't.
did that at the end and
Yeah.
then he didn't even
Okay.
distribute the
Yeah.
shit.
Sure. He got masks readily available from China. He got the ship off of New York, that medical ship. He sent that. He got more ventilators because they were crying about not having enough. Even though ventilators actually on a lot, or I'm using the words on TikTok on a lot. It's nice to actually speak freely for once. Holy shit. Um, but yeah, he got more ventilators to hospitals. Although now we're finding out that ventilators really didn't help that much. Actually, they hurt people more than they helped them, right? But it's a miracle that every COVID patient that a hospital got, they got paid, right? How much money? Tell me how much money each hospital got for putting someone on a ventilator. Do you know how much?
I have no idea, and I've talked to doctors, and they said that's a bunch of bullshit. Uh, but
Wait,
whether
no,
they're lying
this
to
is
me
a
or not,
fact.
it's not a fact.
Okay, sure, sure,
Everything you
fine, fine.
say is a fact,
No, no,
but you have
sir, sir,
nothing to prove it.
you understand. Okay, okay, hang on.
You
When
say
a
something
hospital
that's true.
claims that someone had, right, they incentivized hospitals to basically say that they had a COVID patient and maybe put them on a ventilator. And again, this is let me say it carefully because I want to be careful here too what I say because this means a lot to people. Um, the ventilators didn't help, but every hospital where they had a COVID patient that was put on a ventilator, they got paid a certain amount. Could we agree to that?
I can't
Right.
because
They got,
I don't know. There may have been some subsidy, but if you've got a
it's
source for
just
that, I'd
common
love to hear it.
sense.
I'd love to hear
Right.
the
Well, it's
source. If
just
yeah,
common sense. Here,
no,
put
it's
in,
not
just
common
type in your
sense.
computer right now. Just type in your computer. I got my phone in front of me. Just type in your computer how much money hospitals made off, or how much money hospitals charged off of putting a COVID patient on a ventilator.
But then
Type that in.
then I got to fact check the source, whoever
Oh,
comes
that's
up with it.
gotta go.
I mean,
I got you.
this is going to bring up conspiracy theories and QAnon bullshit. Let's talk about what we
I agree.
know.
What?
The
Right, right.
bottom.
And I hate when.
Go ahead. Go
No,
ahead.
I just, you know what, and it's a better conversation if we're just having a back and forth without like on our phones and our computers looking up
Yeah.
sources. So I generally agree, and I'm willing. But here's my point here, right? Like Trump did a lot. He got the masks, he got the ventilators, he got the ship, he did Operation Warp Speed, he went and got a vaccine, he wore a mask, he did all these different things, and he even game planned in front of Dr. Burks. Maybe like, can we, the virus? Look, is he wrong for being the leader of the greatest nation and trying to project a sense of security by saying, yeah, this is going to go away by summer? I mean, that's just projecting confidence, right?
No,
That's not a bad thing.
no.
That doesn't mean there weren't still lockdowns. It just gave people hope.
That's ridiculous. That's not what you do in a dangerous situation. And let me tell you about the mask a little bit. What you don't know about me, for a time I was working in the business of brokering products from one place to another. And when COVID hit and there was a mask shortage while Donald Trump was president, I was able to get a source in China, get it delivered to Los Angeles, and I probably sold 30 million masks. There was a huge shortage in masks. So don't tell me Donald Trump saved the day with the mask, because it was a shortage and it was a desperate situation. And we were fighting to get the mask in. Donald Trump did zero. He said it was a hoax at first, and then all of his
Wait,
followers
you just
decided it was a
admitted he
hoax.
didn't do zero. Okay,
What?
sorry. Go
No,
ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, anyway, I mean, you just said he did zero, but we just agreed he did some, right? He did
I didn't agree.
something.
I didn't agree with that.
So give me a
I,
better percentage than zero, please.
I don't know that. I mean, you have to understand with
Dude,
Don.
come on, man. Are you this obtuse? Like you don't think Trump did one good thing during COVID? Are you that against Trump?
I
Like
am.
just be real with me, bro. Like why do you hate Trump so much? Let's get to the bottom of it.
Well, let's be honest. He is a guy that's not as bright as you think he is. He's all about doing for himself. The whole thing with COVID was about protecting himself and getting himself reelected. He didn't give a fuck about people dying. He didn't do anything. The one thing he did is you mentioned the warp speed, and that may be good. But he did it toward the end, and then when all the vaccines come in, he didn't even have a distribution plan. Biden had to come in and figure out a way to distribute it. So you got this stuff with shelf life sitting in fucking warehouses because he didn't even know to do that.
Wait, so yeah, okay. So yeah. Distribution is so hard. Yeah, that's a tough one, right? Jeez.
Yeah. Why didn't he do it?
Biden,
Why didn't he do it?
that's a little bit tougher. Yeah, because he was out of office by then. He had other things to
No,
worry
no,
about,
no. He
right?
wasn't out of office by
And for
then.
Trump, he had a rigged election to worry about, right? This is for Trump, by the way. I'm not saying this is true, but for Trump, he had a rigged election. He had other things he had to think about. And by the way, all the while, he was saying, we're going to slash insulin prices. We're going to pull out of Afghanistan. But I'm not pivoting to that. I'm just saying this is what he was doing while he was still president. And I remember these press conferences specifically, right? So to say that he didn't do anything is just completely, it's just like,
Well,
I don't know. He did a lot. Operation Warp Speed was so much more important than rolling the vaccines out, right? Like, yeah, you just like
how
expedite the shipping and handling,
how can you say
right?
that?
You just
Making
money.
make it. You're saying
Distribution is not difficult.
making
It's
the
it's a lot
vaccination
harder to cut the red tape.
is more important than putting it in people's arms. Fucking please. Let's talk about the things that Donald Trump hasn't done. He was going to put up a wall paid for by Mexico. Didn't happen. He was going to put the infrastructure bill together. Didn't
Wait,
happen,
slow
but
down.
Biden did
Let's
it.
talk about that. Wait. Let's talk again. Yeah. Trump, like, he planted the seed,
Oh,
right?
please.
And then it grew. It grew, and then Trump took, or no, Biden took. He's like, oh, I am responsible for this tree. No, Trump planted the seed, buddy. Sorry, but I'm talking about Biden. What was your first point before that, though?
Well, the whole wall with Mexico paying for it,
Oh, the
that
wall,
never
dude.
happened. That was
Trump
bullshit.
built 500. He built like freaking 500. He built a lot of
No,
wall, and
no,
then
he
he
didn't.
used He used Mexico's military to protect it and help build it.
That's just a
Right.
flat
So
out lie, Jeff. You're reading the wrong information. He didn't build 500 miles. He
wait.
built like 80 miles, maybe, and half of the shit's
Where's your
fallen
force?
down now.
So now there's contention. Okay, so you agree it's falling down? That is just a piece of propaganda, dude.
I've
Like,
seen the
come
video.
on, bro. Did you see his walls? They ain't gonna fall down. Wait, hey, let me ask you a question. When was the last time you went to Mexico? Because I just went there last week, and I
Oh,
go there every single week. I
it's
live
been
in a border town.
it's been some time since I've been to Mexico. But let me ask you this: if that wall is so great, how come you're complaining about the border being worse? Why isn't the wall doing the job?
Well, that's, I mean, again, that's not my complaint, but are you disagreeing that
You want
there's
to
not
talk
like
about that?
record level?
You're telling me Donald
Yeah,
Trump built a
are you
beautiful
are you
wall of 500
disagreeing?
miles, but you're telling me the border is worse. So what Donald
Okay,
Trump
so
did
again,
made it
no,
worse?
yes, it is worse. Sure, because a wall is just an example of power, right? It's not necessarily saying like we're keeping people out. Rather, it's just like, for example, if you build a house, right, and you put up like, who's more likely to break into the house? If you have a small picket fence or you have a huge chain link fence. Now, will anybody break in ever? Probably not, but it gives you peace of mind to know that you have a huge wall.
So what you're
Is
saying
that
is
so wrong?
Donald Trump wanted to build a wall strictly for perception, not actual real effect. Is that what you're saying? It was to prove a point or to show an image of toughness, because that's all Donald Trump does. He's good on perception. He's not good on substance. He's not good on
So
details. He's not good on accomplishing anything.
Okay,
Yep.
well, I'll answer that question. He's wow. Okay, what you just said was interesting. You said three different things there. So, first of all, yes, if like for example, if you own a house, right, your wife is like, I'm worried about people breaking in. I want a really tall wall, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna build a huge wall and a moat and put some alligators in there. Don't you think you're a happy wife is a happy life, right? Therefore, it's analogous. The president is the husband, the wife is the people, right? The people just want a secure country, dude. Like, and they want someone that cares about the border. That's it. The Democrats give two shits about the border. They're like,
That's not
there's
true.
nothing going on here, and they use the media to gaslight us.
That's not true. That's just not
And wait,
true.
are you disagreeing that there's levels of fentanyl coming through our borders? Yes or no?
I disagree
Because
that
I don't
there's
know if you watched
no,
the
no, hold on.
experience with my ordinance.
I disagree that there's record numbers of fentanyl coming through the southern border. It's coming through other locations. It's coming through legally. It's coming out of Europe. It's not coming through Mexico. There's like 10% of it, 8% of it coming through Mexico. This has been reported extensively, and I don't know why Trumplefucks can't grasp that because it fucks up their messaging. They want
I
to
didn't.
make us
Hang
think,
on, I didn't.
and we've got all the rapists and murderers too coming from the brown country too, right? That's where they're all coming from, the
Well,
murderers and the
actually,
rapists.
sir, did you hear about that murder that happened in Texas? That was an illegal. Like the family asked him to stop shooting his gun, and he went and shot a bunch of people in that house. Do you remember that? And he was undocumented immigrant.
Well, did you hear about
Do you remember that?
well, yeah, that's one instance. Of course, that can happen when you have a lot of people coming across. Well, what about the
Wait, one instance.
huh?
Go ahead.
What
Well,
about
I mean, would you agree that one school shooting is too much?
uh yeah, I do,
Yeah,
but
of
apparently
course. So
Congress
we should
and
get rid of
Republicans
guns,
don't.
just like we should secure our borders. I agree with both premises.
The thing about it is just because you have one of those instances doesn't mean everybody coming across the border is a murderer or a rapist. And that's the
Of
image that
course.
Donald Trump gave. And that's what the
Oh
Republicans
wait,
give.
no, I don't think so. No, I
Yeah,
don't think so.
no, he did.
Because
He said it
what
very
are you
specifically.
referring to when they're not sending us their best?
That was part of that speech. Yeah.
Of course, it's kind of funny. I know all your arguments, right?
You don't know shit. The thing
Well, I mean,
about
you were probably if we dug into that, you would probably use that as an example.
I know what he said in that case in terms of there are murderers and rapists coming across the border, and he was insinuating or at least projecting that that's all that was coming across the border. The fact of the matter is that's not the case. We've got a lot of women and children coming across the border. They're not rapists, they're not
I agree.
murderers. There are people fleeing countries where they're in danger or starving or whatever. It's not a good situation. But this problem at the border didn't start with Joe Biden. It was still a problem with Donald Trump. It was a problem with Obama. It's been a problem for a number of years. It's not like it's just new and then Biden's done something different. In fact, Biden is taking on some of the strategies that Donald Trump had when he was in office. He's using them now.
Right, but it's not that like you implement new policy, it's just what you don't do. Right. So
Like
I would
what?
just say that, and look, hey, look, here's the thing. I'm not a huge I want people to come into this country.
I do too.
I want them to come legally. I
Yeah.
want as many of them as they can because let's face it, we're all foreigners in a different land. I think we can agree with that, right?
Hmm.
And that and I know that when Trump says these things about the people, like it's easy to straw man his point or create a red herring where Trump is like he doesn't want anybody of any other nationality coming over. But let's face it, Trump he can't win for losing. Either he shuts the border down or he opens it up. Either way, he's either xenophobic or he's colluding. Well, which is it, right?
I have a
Do
question
you
for
know what
you.
I mean?
I have a question for you. Why is it every time Donald Trump says something that's absolutely ignorant, there's always apologists, whether they be fans like you or people in his administration or whatever? Well, what I think he really meant, why can't Donald Trump just say what the fuck he means and be clear about it and be have some critical thinking? He just spews shit that comes out of his mouth. He doesn't have critical thinking skills. He's emotional, he's reactionary, and he says and does stupid shit because he's only really worried about protecting and enriching himself.
No, I mean, again, I don't think you can just like, that's why they hated Trump, is because he just like shot from the hip. He just said how he felt and how he feels about America and the direction we're going in. And who better to trust than a former Democrat that knows the system is rigged, who admitted it? He's like, hey, I was a part of the system. I can help you. This just makes sense, right? And with Joe Biden, right? There's just like this feeling that he's not actually the person running the show. There's a feeling of weakness. There's a feeling of falling down the stairs, falling off your bike, and only being asked by the media what your favorite type of ice cream is. Because if they ask him any hard questions, he'll crumble like a cookie.
Have you watched Donald Trump on TV as of late? He has trouble forming sentences. He goes off on tangents wildly. He refers to the president as Obama as opposed to Biden. The guy is not mentally sound. He's got a lot of pressure on him right now. He's emotionally broken in the first place and physically. I'll put it to you this way: over this next year, I'll be surprised if he lasts emotionally to even run for president. I've said before, I don't think he'll be the nominee. The Republicans don't really want him. He's a loser. And I don't think he'll be able to handle what he's going to be going through over the next year or so.
Wait, so but you don't again, he's leading it like if you look at the RNC, like obviously he's going to be their nominee. Who do you think they're going to pick? Nikki Haley at 10%?
No, I don't.
Like, come on, dude. You think
I
they're going to pick? You think Ronna McDaniel is going to pick someone other than the person that can win? And if they do, then we need to get rid of them too.
Well, yeah, he's ahead when it comes to the Republicans because the rest of the Republicans are a bunch of dipshits. They're afraid of Donald Trump. They're not doing what they need to do to compete with Donald Trump, save for Chris Christie. Donald Trump has essentially a cult following, and I'm sad to say that it sounds like you're amongst that cult following, which I'm sure you'll take offense to, and you should. But
yeah, but because hang on, I have my bingo card out, and I was ready for some certain words you were going to use. So far, I've almost made bingo. A
right.
cult following. Again, that is just rhetoric and propaganda, and you know it. Come
No,
on, dude, do better. That's like me calling you like a freaking like far leftist, like a tree hugging, freaking Biden loving. What I know you're not, right?
well, it
And
doesn't
I'm
matter
not the
what
same way with Trump. Although I know that he could do better for our country.
I
Sorry.
don't. I honestly don't care what you or anybody calls me. It really doesn't bother me in the least. But let me explain to you why it's a cultish type of cult of
Personality.
cult of personality. Yeah, that. Thank you. I was looking for that.
Uh,
But everybody who follows Donald Trump looks up to him like a deity or a superhero or something like that. What you have to understand is the people on the Democratic side don't look at Joe Biden that way. Joe Biden wouldn't have been my first choice as president of the United States. I too agree he's too old, but we have what we have right now. Um, I've said on my show many times, we need to get out of the era of the old white man. They fucked it up to this point, both Republicans and Democrats. We don't need another old white man, but Biden may be the only person that can beat.
what does hang on? What does hang on? Either your argument is ageist or racist. What does it have to do with race or age? Because we see Trump, he's trouncing. Like, do you think like Vivek can really do better than Trump? Hell no. He could be a decent vice president, right? We need a strong leader in the times of turmoil that we're in right now. And Joe Biden is not that leader. Now, is he controlled by other strong leaders such as BlackRock, such as the oligarchs, the deep state, the swamp,
What
right?
evidence do you
Yes,
have
he
of that?
is.
What evidence do you have of that? If you're
Yeah,
going to say that,
sure.
I could say Donald
Do
Trump is
you think,
controlled by Russia, and I have more evidence of that than you have
how
of
do you know that?
BlackRock. How do I know
Oh, no,
that?
actually, you have. Have you looked at the Durham report? Have you looked at the Mueller report? Like, dude, there's no evidence of Trump colluding with Russia. And
Let
why
me
aren't they charging it with hey, hang on, they're indicting him 10 times from Sunday, but nothing of those charges has to do with Russia.
not yet.
I wonder why.
Well, because
Not yet. Okay.
not
Yeah.
yet.
So again,
But
they're
even
just going to
still,
bring another nothing burger to the table.
oh, you think 91 felony charges? You think he's going to run the table on that and beat them all? Do you really fucking believe that? That's
Yeah,
not going to
just like
happen.
his two impeachment, just like the just like the Crossfire Hurricane investigation, right?
So
Because guess what?
let me get you on
You
the record then.
cannot break the justice system in America. Sorry.
Let me get you on the record then. 91 felony charges to date. We don't know how many more are coming. Donald Trump only has to get convicted of one or two of those things, and he's fucking done. He's in jail. He's 78 years old. He'll never come out of it again, and he's done. Are you telling me that Donald Trump is so powerful and so innocent that he will run the table on all 91 charges and not get convicted of one of them? Do you believe that?
Well, if we look at the past and
No,
we
answer
look
the
at
question. Do
charges
you
that have been
believe it?
brought against Trump, I'm answering. Well, let me answer it. Thank you. So, if we look at the past, right, and we see all the different charges that have been levied against Trump, and all the fake news, and all the accusations, and all the smear campaigns, and he's beat every single one, and he's been exonerated. Why would it change now?
Because we're talking about two different things. We're talking about a Congress where Republicans held the Senate. That's why he beat it in the Senate. We're talking about the DOJ now. We're talking about legal charges. There's a vast difference, and I would think a guy as smart as you knows there's a difference.
So, wait, you're saying, hang on, you hear what you're saying, right? You're saying that
I know
it's
exactly
not
what I'm
based off
saying.
of justice, right? You just think all Republicans are just liars.
Not all of them, but a good part of them. Because as far as I'm concerned,
Right, because
anybody
you
who
heard what I said.
supports,
You heard what you said, right? Because when they impeached him, you said, well, just because the Senate, like they were controlled by the Republicans, right? But that doesn't mean anything, right? Because if
yeah, it
the
does.
system works the way it was set up by the founding fathers, right? It doesn't matter if you're partisan or bipartisan. Guilt is guilt, and the facts are the facts. The fact is, they didn't find any guilt or anything that would be
Yeah, but
impeachable or worthy of finalizing the impeachment and getting rid of a president.
let me
That's
ask you.
just the facts.
Let me ask you this
Yeah.
though. He was there was 56 or 57 votes against him in the Senate. They needed 60. Did our founding fathers set up that rule of having to have 60 votes to do an impeachment? No, they didn't. That was something that was created by politicians later to save their asses.
Wait, so but you understand, like you can add to the Constitution, you can't take away from.
Understand? Yeah.
So
But
that's the way the
but
founding fathers created it.
right, but you're saying the founding fathers created the way this impeachment went, and it was altered down the road. So it's not like the founding fathers said, "Oh my God, this is the way it's going to be. We're going to write it in stone." Um, I would say the founding fathers, if they saw the way the Constitution to date has been perverted, they'd be fucking rolling in their graves. It's ridiculous.
Oh, really? Because you don't think they'd be happy that we overcame racism and slavery?
We haven't overcome racism. Racism is more apparent now than it ever has been. I mean, a lot of people thought
Oh,
it
it
went
is.
away.
It is. Okay, perfect. How? Or wait. Do you believe in systemic racism?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, what is it? What is it?
It's not about just KKK people going after people. It's about being slighted or not given the opportunities
No,
or
no, you're wrong, sir. You
no,
are
I'm
wrong.
not.
It's
No,
about
I'm
a
not
system
wrong.
of power. No,
Huh?
it's about a system. Hang on. It's about a system of power, and then implemented systematically through laws, right? Or like housing laws or regulations, such as like redlining. That's systemic racism.
That's kind of what
But
I.
there's
That's
laws
kind of what I
against
said in
redlining.
a different way. That's kind of what
Sorry.
I said. You're trying to make an argument that doesn't exist.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you wrong, right?
No, I don't.
I get. I apologize.
I can
That's
be
just
wrong.
HVAC.
I'll own up to it when I'm wrong. But my point is that racism exists. We had racism. You're too young to remember the 60s or the 70s. I will tell you this: in the 60s and 70s, racism was just accepted, and then as time went on, it seemed to become less racist. And well, if you talk to white people, you'd say, "Yeah, racism's a lot better now." Black people wouldn't have told you that. But then when Donald Trump comes out
Well, it just
and
depends
makes
on.
being
It just
racist
depends
cool
on if the
again,
Republic.
when
It
he
just
came out,
depends on if the black person you talk to is Republican or Democrat.
no, not
Because it's
everything
called
is.
identity, sir. It's called identity politics. Do you know about that?
Well,
Obama kind of started it, right? With BLM, and look, no problem with that. Like, I agree. Like, look, we did oppress, or people did oppress a certain race, and they should have reparations. I have no issue with that, right? But it 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 refutes, it kind of like infringes on your point about, I don't know, the original point we were making. But anyway, so can we let's rewind back to the original topic, because I think we're getting a little bit off base here.
I'll tell you what we're
You
going to
don't have
do.
much more time with me, buddy.
We're at that point. We're going to take a quick break. Old man's
We
got to
can
go
go
to the
two
bathroom.
hours.
Well,
Oh
we'll
no,
see
me too.
how.
Yeah, I got you.
I don't have a
Let's
problem
do
going
it.
longer. We can do that, but I'm 63. I got to go to the fucking bathroom. So we're going to
Oh,
do
dude,
that.
honestly, I swear to you, I'm not trying to butter you up or anything, but I thought you were like 52.
No, I'm
I swear.
63. I'm
No,
63.
you have, sir, you have a great intellect, and you're highly intelligent, and I appreciate talking to you. But unfortunately, I am still the best debater, and I'll leave you at that. I'll be right back. How long we got? 5 minutes?
2, 3 minutes. We'll be right back.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right.
Let me. I gotta take a leak too. So I guess it's just not for. I get
Yeah.
HVAC has to take a leak too, guys.
Yeah. No problem. All
All
right.
right, brother. I'll be right back.
All right.
All right. I'll see you in a sec. I wish I was in better lighting. It is what it is.
We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. We've got an interesting show. We've got Jeff with us, who is a Trump supporter. We set up this debate. A lot of people have been waiting to hear it, so I'm glad we were able to connect up and doing this. And I was telling Jeff before, one of the hardest parts of doing this particular debate, unlike some of the other debates I've had, is that we disagree completely, and we can argue about that fact. But I don't hate the fucking guy. He's not a terrible guy. If you were a terrible guy, this would be a lot more fun. So thanks for fucking up my night. But
Likewise, likewise.
yeah, I want to ask you a question.
So,
You keep saying you're the best debater on TikTok. I want to ask you, who bestowed that upon you, or is it just something you pulled out of your ass and you say?
no, I pull it out of my ass, because the first step in achieving success is believing in yourself. So I
Absolutely.
believe that I am the greatest debater. So therefore, I'm going to project that. But honestly, it's more of just a subjective opinion. Look, I'm there's so many good debaters on TikTok. I would be happy to be up there with the rest of them. Now, I might not be the greatest, but I'm going in the right direction. Let's just say that.
Well, it's not so different from me calling myself Rational Boomer. I did it more for uh, the moron of it, boomer and rational. They don't generally fit together. But so it's just a name or a catchphrase or something like that. I also wanted to mention one thing, since we're playing nice here at the moment. You said your birthday's coming up in a couple of days. Happy birthday. And how old did you say you're going to be? 38?
38, yes, sir.
Wow.
Unfortunately.
I remember when I was 38. No, I don't really remember when I was 38. That was a long fucking time ago.
Uh,
Um, so anyway, let's talk about some of our differences. That's the only way we can work this out. I'm trying to think of where to go. We've talked about COVID a little bit. Um, let's let's uh, let's talk about this legal case, this civil suit against
mhm.
Donald Trump, his family, and his corporation. I'm saying that this court case, even though it's not criminal, may be the most devastating of all the cases coming up. And this one's almost done. What do you think? How do you feel about it?
Wait, which case specifically?
Civil lawsuit, Letitia James against Donald Trump, his organization, and his
Oh,
family.
yeah. I mean, yeah. It is important, but I think that we're really going to have to look at the appeals court and see where the appeal goes to, because he's won. I'm pretty sure he's won a couple of appeals, a couple of different,
Not
uh,
many, not
you know,
many.
I would say he's won a couple.
Maybe
So
a
we're going to
couple.
really, because obviously it's going to go to appeals. So I mean, you're innocent until proven guilty. But yes, there's a reason Trump showed up for this hearing, right? Because obviously he's been kind of ignoring the rest. It is important, right? Because it's talking about the integrity of his company and who he, and fundamentally, this is what Trump stands for, right? He stands behind his business prowess, right?
Right.
And if this, and actually, that's a good point, right? If they're saying that he's fraudulent, right, this is obviously going to affect the election.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, the thing about it is Donald Trump is a personality, and I've said this on the air before, and I recognize Donald Trump's personality uh, when he first came on the scene and when he started running for president, because he reminded me of somebody. I had a father who had a similar personality. He wasn't as big a player as Donald Trump, but he was a pretty wealthy guy when we were young in the 80s and 70s and such. And he was an absolute narcissist. From a distance, he looked like a great guy. Up close, complete asshole. And he ended up like so many other narcissists, dying in a one-bedroom apartment in his underwear in a recliner chair by himself. That's how these people end up. So when I see Donald Trump, the way he behaves, it's all too familiar to me, and I know where this is going to go. I think Donald Trump's identity, his whole emotional state, is wrapped up in how important he is, how much money he has, how much property he has, how much power and prestige he has, and when that's taken away, and it will be taken away, he'll be nothing more than a shell. The criminal trials will be nothing because he's already done.
Well, I agree with the outcome. That makes sense. But the only thing that I think about when you say, oh man, I was going to make a point here about this, about Trump, um, about one of your points. Yeah, I generally agree that would be the outcome if that's the way that we perceive the case to be, right? And I think that, excuse me, sorry, I think that this is the problem with trying a president, right? Because it literally divides the country one way or the other. I think that it sets a dangerous precedent for future presidents. And I think there's a reason that we leave presidents alone, right? It's just like, yeah, they could be the worst person, or we find out that they did this thing or whatever it is, right? But what we don't do is indict them. And I think you made a good point about you. I said that, well, why are they, is this going to affect the outcome of the election? Right? Of course it is.
Yeah.
And it just seems a little bit like too convenient. And then not only that, but they're firing on all four cylinders, right?
Well, he was charged or indicted well before he started to run for president. And he did an unprecedented thing by announcing he was going to run for president 2 years before the election. He did that with the intention of trying to get protection of being a candidate. Um, it made no sense for him to do it that early, but he did. And, you talk about don't indict a president because it divides the country. That was the talking point when Richard Nixon was pardoned by Gerald Ford. We'll just let it go. It'll divide the country. And at that point, maybe or maybe not maybe that wasn't true. But here's the problem we have now. We have a much different situation. The corruption that has been committed by Donald Trump and the crimes, presumed crimes, we all know about it. It's all out in the open. And I suggest that if we don't hold somebody who does that many crimes accountable, that's even more divisive in this country and more problematic for our government as far as being toothless and not holding everybody responsible, making everybody accountable to the law.
Right. But I mean, this notion, right, that like you're just holding the like most guilty person accountable. Like, well, whatever the outcome is, like this thing outweighs that outcome. Meaning, like, if you indict him and you move forward with this, right, you're going to obviously like affect at least millions of people. We can agree, maybe a few million, right? The people that follow Trump, the diehards,
Yeah.
right? So you're just weighing the consequences. So I would just, you know, push back a little bit and then ask you a question, and just ask you like, well, just because, just because it's affecting a smaller amount of people doesn't mean the effect should go to the greater amount of people, right?
Not
Because
sure.
you're saying essentially, if we don't indict him, then it's going to set a precedence for future people, for people to break the law in the future, right? And that's going to have a bigger effect. I'm saying, well,
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
think the bigger effect is disenfranchise.
Well, no, no.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
how would you feel about a Democratic president doing all the same things that Donald Trump did in terms of stealing documents, in terms of his business dealings and such? I mean, he's already been found liable of pervasive and massive fraud in business. That's already been decided. We're now just trying to decide how much he's going to have to pay. It's not a question of whether he's guilty or not. He is, because it's already been decided. Now, of course, he can appeal it, but he's got some hurdles to jump over before he appeals it. Like, first of all, if whatever he's fined, he's going to have to come up with that money and put it, or a portion of that money anyway, on the block before he can appeal it. So there's a lot of problems with him looking to appeal the situation.
and by the way, I was making some motions with my face, and so that's just like the thing I do on TikTok. So it's just
I
kind of
know.
my
That's no problem. We all do weird shit.
yeah, but in no way, I'm enjoying the conversation actually. So yeah, I mean, when you're talking about like this fraud case, right? I think that one, we can easily just overlook it and just say, well, it's just a civil case, right? And ultimately, like, if think about this, right? If these people are dead set on voting for Trump, even if he's indicted, like, what difference do you think a fraud case is going to make? Like none, right? They're just going to be like, oh well, it's just a fraud case, right? That's they're like, okay, even if he loses it, which he already lost it, right? Now they're
Right.
determining the damages, which
Right.
of course that's very determinative. They could determine it for $1, right? So we're going to have to see. But I think that given the past, the present, and the future issues with Trump, especially when it comes to the government and the Congress and Nancy Pelosi and all these people that hate Trump so much, I think that there's more to look into here. Right? Yeah, they're indictments, and anyone else, we'd be like, of course, lock them up, right?
Right.
But why are we not saying the same thing about Trump?
Saying what? Same thing. I'm missing something here.
Well, I mean, because of course, everybody's gonna like, if this was just like a Joe Schmo off the street, they're like,
Yeah.
oh, he's been indicted 5 times, 91 charges. We're gonna like lock him up.
Yeah.
No
Exactly.
problem. I would say that. You would say that. That's just a
Absolutely.
rational thing to say. But how come when it comes to Trump, it's like, well, of course,
That's a
of
question
course, I
we're
know you're
all
gonna say
asking.
right, but again, you agree that he's innocent until proven guilty, though.
Certainly. I mean, that's the way the law works. Um, but one thing I will say about this lawsuit, I think you have a misconception about what I'm saying. The image that it portrays to the electorate, whether he wins or loses that lawsuit, I don't really care about that. Whether that would be enough to lose a election or not, that's not the point. The point is what it does to him as a human. It takes his strength, it takes his superpower away from him. And then what does he have? If they start taking away property, all his money, um, it's going to be impossible for him to do anything. I mean, as it is, all the money he's collecting is going to his defense fund, and he's not using any money to do any campaigning. Donald Trump is headed down a fucking steep path, and it's going to be impossible for him to come back from that.
Do you think that this would be happening if he wouldn't like, just say if he dropped out of the race? And be honest, like all these charges, everything like this, like, do you think if he was like, listen, I'm out, you guys do you argue over the 5 candidates, vote Chris Christie, and I don't care, I'm done.
I think we're too late for that now. I think even once the investigation started, that would have been too late. I will tell you this: if while he was in office, he shut his fucking mouth and just did his job, he would have come out of this a lot better. But every time he opens his mouth, he implicates himself in another situation. The guy just cannot think and talk at the same time. He's all emotional, it's all reactionary, and he says shit that implicates himself every time. The reason he's in this situation, as bad as it is on him because he couldn't keep his mouth shut.
Okay, so I mean, I agree, right? What you're saying makes sense and is probably pretty true. But let me ask you this question, and it's the first hypothetical of the whole night,
Okay.
right? What if um you knew, like, what if there was going to be like World War III, right?
No.
But but it had to do, fuck, I was going to make a point with this one, but anyway, I was thinking the hypothetical was or referring to the indictments. Okay. So the further indictments. Okay. So again, even if, like, I think that there are things that like Trump, like someone being charged, right? Like if you knew that, I'm not going to give you that one. Just keep going because I
Well,
forgot what the hypothetical
the
was.
thing
Go ahead.
about it is, people want to
You got me.
compare the things that Donald Trump did and compare it to other past presidents. I'm willing
Hmm.
to say that he may be, if assuming he's guilty of all these things, he may be the most prolific criminal in the history of this country, president or otherwise. I mean, 91 felony charges and then more coming. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't think the like number of charges is necessarily indicative of actual guilt, right? Especially when the question of the FBI and the DOJ is being like definitely called to account, right?
Right.
I think there's like probing investigations going on right now. Like the people do not trust the system, and either way, that's a huge problem, right? Like, this, like, well, this was the hypothetical. What if you knew that the only way to not get to World War III was to like not indict this person, like, or like if there was your only, fuck, I was gonna word it differently too. Anyway, like, isn't there anything that you could like think that someone could do that would prevent this, uh, you know,
You're trying to come up with a reason why not to convict Donald Trump. Is that what you're saying?
yeah, even if you knew like convicting him would like put us in a worse position. Like, what if you thought that, right? That's
Yeah.
what like that's what a huge percentage of American people think. That's why they're willing to, they genuinely think that Trump can put us in a better position.
Now you say a huge amount of people. That's where we might have some contradiction here. How many people do you think support Donald Trump percentage wise?
I'd say I would say like his base, it's probably around maybe like 4 million.
Oh, it's more than 4 million, but I would say maybe 30% of the country on the high end support Donald Trump.
That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people.
Where they're like 300, there's about 340
340
million people in
million.
the country.
Right, right,
You
right.
got that, you know what you got? You got that little like minor cold, that little cough. It's
Yeah, no, I've
annoying.
had it. I've had it for about
It's
5
like a little itch
days,
in
and
your
I
throat.
couldn't. I'm glad I couldn't even talk before, so I'm okay. I'm getting
No, I
better.
know. I had the same thing, and it kept, the cough just kept going for like 2 or 3 weeks. It was so annoying. But
Well,
I felt great. Like I was still
yeah,
going to the gym. Like I was like, oh, I just got this little itch in the back of my throat.
yeah,
So annoying.
yeah. It is fucking annoying, and when you're older,
Eh,
it's more difficult. The thing about it is with there is a lot of people that support Donald Trump, and that may be one of the most disconcerting things to me in this country. How many people can watch what they've watched, hear what they hear, and still support the guy? I mean, from the moment
I mean,
before he was elected
I don't know.
to
Like
now.
I mean, I've heard it all and seen it all, and I mean, I don't. I'd much rather the position we were in 2016 than the position we're in 2020,
How about
and onward.
2019? How about 2019? Do you like the position we were in 2019?
Well, I mean, the problem with that is you'd have to blame COVID-19 on Trump. You just can't. You can't do that.
Yeah, you can because he didn't do anything. He had a job to do and he just ignored it. He was
Wait, so
negligent.
honestly, like wait, hang on. He didn't do, wait, we already agreed he did something.
Well, I don't. I didn't agree that he did something. The only thing he did do was that warp
Well,
speed thing, and he didn't really do it. He had people
no.
doing it, but he came out. It was too late, and he didn't do anything to get it out to the people. Let's be honest. You like 2016, the economy and everything at 2016 with compliments of Barack Obama. Donald Trump hadn't been in long enough to accomplish anything. Donald Trump rode Obama's economy for at least 2 years.
I mean, okay, fine. So, so did Biden, right, with Trump. But mine
No,
is COVID.
no, he didn't ride.
Yeah,
The,
imagine that.
the economy was crashed when Donald Trump left. It was shitty. It was crashed when George W. left. It was crashed when Donald Trump left. Obama brought it back, and Biden is starting to bring it back. So
Why did the economy crash under Trump though?
because
And
of
actually, it really didn't. Actually, it's still. And when did that crash happen? Was it in correlation with the lockdowns?
well, yeah, it was in correlation with COVID. That certainly had an aspect to it. But the thing is that well, let's the tax cut that he gave everybody that everybody was jazzed about. That was fucking ridiculous. That tax cut gave 2 trillion in perpetuity to the wealthy, gave us crumbs, and then it had a sunset date, which is already done. And now every year our taxes go up by 2%. So he did us a big fucking favor there. He gave us a little bit and then took more away. That tax break did nothing but add to the debt. 2 trillion to rich people who don't pay taxes anyway. That's a horrible fucking investment. But that's what the Republicans want to do. They're still stuck in this trickle down thing that we've been trying to do for 40 years that has never fucking worked.
Yeah, I mean, the tax cuts were. They definitely worked for some people. We agree that they worked for at least the rich people.
Yeah.
But when you actually look at the actual bills and the actual cuts that were made, it was it's not just a simple dichotomy of the rich and the poor, right? It's so much more than that. He gave tax cuts to each tax bracket, right? And then that affected some companies. And a lot of companies, guys, guess what? A lot of companies in America are not these huge conglomerate corporations all owned by like similar, LLCs or whatever. They're just like mom and pop shops here in America. And that's what capitalism is, right? It's a private market enterprise that anybody can get in on, regardless of your status or whoever you are in America. If you want to open up your own business, you can. And guess what? Trump's tax cuts gave those people an easier life. They gave more people jobs and they made things a lot better for them and their employees because they're getting taxes back. And you know what? And there's one thing I know about companies, they give big bonuses when they're making a lot of money,
No,
right? Or their guys are getting paid commission.
it's been well studied that when you give them these big tax breaks, the premise is that they'll open more businesses and pay people more money and hire more people. And that's never been the case. It just doesn't happen that way. They buy stock in their company or they keep it and it doesn't move anywhere. So you hand this money to the wealthy and it doesn't come back in the system. At least if you give it to the middle class, it goes into the system again. COVID relief bill is a perfect example. That helped the economy a lot because you gave the middle class a little bit of money to fucking survive from paycheck to paycheck. And it helped the economy because the middle class have to buy things. If you're not buying things, it doesn't help the economy. That's why I can't understand why Republicans don't understand they should make the middle class flourish. Because if the middle class goes to shit, the rich people got nobody left to grift and the economy goes to shit. But for some reason, they can't look beyond the end of their nose.
Well, I think when it comes to like making jobs, I think it's important that we incentivize people and to be a better version of themselves, to gain more value to the marketplace, because the person who judges what you'll make and what your income will be is nobody. It's the market, and it determines your value, right? So, in order to have a better value in the marketplace, you have to increase your own value. You have to learn new things. You have to become better at talking to people. You have to become more sell yourself every single day,
So,
right?
so
And if you're not getting what you want in life, you have to ask for it or then take it. If you want $30 an hour, I'm taking this or I'm leaving. As simple as that. And once you position yourself as the winner, that's all you're going to get is a chicken dinner.
Well, excuse me. Um, I've been a hustler all my life. I've made my share of money doing a lot of different things, being an entrepreneur, just fucking crazy and going in to do something. And I've been fortunate to be successful in some of those things. But the average person, say a single mom with one or two kids, they don't have the opportunities of going, starting a business and doing all that sort of stuff. The government makes it difficult to start a business. I've started several, and it isn't fucking easy, and it's expensive. Are you telling me the free market, if it's working right, makes sure that people that go to work can't make enough money with one job to survive? They've got to work two and three jobs and still struggle. The free market is not free because the wealthy and the corporations control it, and they collude in terms of keeping the wages down. They're all about the bottom line and pay the people as little as they can get away with, and that's short-sighted. If you start tanking the middle class, you're fucking everybody up, including yourself.
Yeah, I agree, but I just disagree on the meaning of capitalism. I said it was mostly like private ownership, so not necessarily free. So that's a little disconnect we had there. But now you know what I mean is by private ownership, and it should be fair as well, right?
Yeah, but it's
And
not.
meaning what whatever. Well, it really is because like I determine my own value to the marketplace. Right? I don't care what a corporation is telling me I should make. If they're telling me I should make $15 an hour, do you think I would take that job?
No, absolutely not. But if you have no choice, I mean, you and I are different people. I hustled all the time. I made a lot of money doing some things. I work for people sometimes. I picked and choose what I would work for and what I wouldn't work for. But not everybody's in a
But when
position
is there
like you
not
and
a
I.
choice?
Huh? When
But
you
when
got
is there not? Well, when is there not a choice?
when you've got to feed your kid and put gas in your car to get to work, and you have to take what's in front of you when everything else is not available to you. Trust me, I've been there when I was younger, was struggling.
There's no such thing, sir. There is no such thing as not available. That is a fallacy, sir. Everything is available if you make it available.
So what, okay, in your mind, maybe in my mind too, but if that's the case, why do we have so many kids not eating, families not being able to pay their bills? Are you just blaming it on lazy people? Is that what you're saying?
No, I just blame it on the fact that they won't bring Xi Jinping to the town and clean that town up right away. Oh wait, I didn't think you saw. Wait, did you see that one? Right,
I saw the story. I
Xi
didn't
Jinping.
read the story, so I don't know the
Right,
details,
right.
but
So Gavin Newsom gets on and he's doing an interview, right? And he's like, "Yeah, we cleaned the streets up because he came. So what?" It's like he just to tell us right to our face. Like that is so sad, right? But you know what? They probably helped a few like hungry kids. Would you agree?
I would agree. And it was the government doing it. And that's why I'm saying it's not just federal government, it's state government too. They're working against the people of this country. And that's the real problem we have here. It's not like the wealthy aren't getting treated fairly, they're getting special treatment. There needs to be, I mean, let me give you an example. People always say, well, we can't afford to do health care. Donald Trump was going to get health care, but he never came up with it. We can't afford Medicare or Social Security in spite of the fact it's something you and I and everybody paid for. They always talk about what they can't afford when it comes to the middle class, but not when it comes to the defense fund or giving money to the rich. If you took back that $2 trillion, you know how much you could do for the middle class and help it to flourish? But they refuse to do it because there's this corruption on a political level, both Democrat and Republican. They feed the rich, rich puts it back in their pockets, and the middle class gets fucked. That shit's got to end. We need to take care of people in this country. And it's not because, sure, there might be some lazy people that take advantage, but there's a lot of people that don't. We're a country that should be doing that, and we don't. Everybody else does, but somehow this country can't because of the way we have the wealthy and the
Exactly,
government
exactly.
ganging in the
That's
system.
right, exactly. And that's why you shouldn't vote for Biden. Even though I honestly don't believe Biden's even going to be a nominee. like based off what's happening in Hamas and Israel right now, like he's got a huge schism between his party right now. His party is now split. The Democrats are now split between, should we, are we Hamas or are we protecting Israel? And they view, half of them view that, giving Israel money is hurting themselves. So guess what? You guys better watch out because they might primary Biden, an incumbent. And you know what they're trying to do? They're trying to get him to do something, right? And that's why they're trying to call for a ceasefire. They're trying to call for this and that. But I mean, we can't sit here and just honestly like not understand that there would be a huge, majorly different outcome if Trump would have been the president till today, right? Like you can't. It would be determinative fully,
We would be way
right?
worse
Because
off.
they're
We
just,
were a
as long as the
laughing stock
leader,
amongst the world. People
yeah,
know he's a
because he was
dipshit.
trying to, because he said what usefulness is NATO? Like he saw that we're being taken advantage of nationally, right? Through trade deals, through China, through Ukraine, through this, through that. He's like, oh, how about this? How about we make a better deal for ourselves? Because obviously they're gonna come to us.
I
That's all
wonder
he did.
I
He
wonder where he got
strengthened us
that
from
idea.
within.
Who wants
That
America to pull out of NATO more than anybody? Who wants us to be pulled out of NATO? Vladimir Putin and Russia. And Donald Trump had these little secret meetings and he slipped them some papers. We know that's a fact. So, oh, you don't agree with
I
that?
love it.
You don't agree with that?
That's
You remember there's a story, and I can pull it up for you if you want. But just after he became
no.
president of the United
I believe
States,
you.
right after he became president of the United States, there was an outrage because he had a private meeting in the Oval Office with 2 or 3 Russian dignitaries or whatever, one of which at least was known to be a spy. And in that meeting, he made a mistake, a little whoops-a-daisy, and he revealed or gave some classified documents to those Russians. And at first, they didn't tell us what it was about, but interestingly enough, it was military information regarding Israel. They did announce that. That's been reported. So it's interesting that after all that time and all the connections we've known he's had with Russia, I mean, he's had all these secret meetings that no president has ever done with Vladimir Putin. He said Vladimir Putin was more trustworthy than our intelligence agencies. Vladimir Putin wanted to go into Ukraine. He wanted us to pull out of NATO so that he can go into Ukraine and then go into Poland and whatever. You think Vladimir Putin doesn't want to keep moving forward if he goes into Ukraine?
Okay.
He said he
Can I ask you a
was.
question?
Yeah,
Okay, so have you heard of The Art of War?
I have not read it.
Right. Well, okay, so it's whatever. Would you agree that keep your friends close and your enemies closer, just like as like a, rule of thumb?
I would I would
Right. It's like
say
the art of war. Act like you're present weak, but be strong. Right.
yeah.
Because if you appear weak, you're going to underwhelm your enemy by thinking they have the advantage over you. But if you are actually strong, you'll have the advantage by the first strike or by the first sign of aggression because they're going to be displaying less aggression, right? And when it comes to war, and when it comes to winning, right, you have to have the upper hand in power and negotiation. And that is exactly what Trump had, and he knew it. And Trump, Zelensky, or whoever the president was in Ukraine, Putin knew it. Xi Jinping knew it. The Korean leader knew it. They all knew it, right? Because they're like, oh, this guy actually knows what the fuck is going on. Like, he's like, listen, I don't give a shit about all these other people. I'm Donald Trump. I know exactly what's going on, and I'm calling your bullshit because I have the Trump card. The Trump card being the president of the United States, the one person that can make our life so much better.
I think that strategy about keeping your enemies closer, I think that's right. But I think it was Vladimir Putin doing it to Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not a bright guy. He makes mistakes fucking constantly. Vladimir Putin, as much as he is a villain, he is an intelligent guy. He's cutthroat and crafty. He's a dictator. He was part of KGB. Vladimir Putin was doing it to Trump, not the other way around. Can you see how that's
Yeah,
possible?
but just because, yeah, it is possible, but it just means they're both doing the right thing.
But I don't trust either one of them because you have to understand
Exactly.
You have to understand Donald Trump's personality. Donald Trump is kind of a fucking dope. All you have to do is pat him on the back, tell him he's a genius, and he will do whatever you want. That's why he's got Alina Habba as a fucking lawyer in these court cases. That's why he has all these dumb fucks that he says were the best ever. And then when he fired him, he said they're the worst ever. He will hire anybody for any job that kisses his ass. And that's absolute. And he's hired some of the most horrific people. Rudy Giuliani, for example, Steve Bannon, for another example. These fucking people are idiots. And we were laughed at all around the world because of the ignorance. And people were fearful because they saw this strong country being run by dopes and they don't know what to expect. That's why, that's why the thing with China is we have to, first of all, set them straight on what they're doing and make them feel comfortable that we're not crazy.
Yeah, exactly. We have to go clean the streets up of California. Xi Jinping is coming. Woohoo! All hail Xi Jinping. But hey, here's the second point, right? I don't think that that Donald Trump. Fuck, what was your second point though? I got thrown off by the Xi Jinping one.
No, that's all right. That's all right.
Yeah, well, guys, these millennials, they can only track one point at a time.
Yeah, no, I
But
got
you
it.
know what?
I'm sorry.
Boomers, they're high IQ. It's true.
What's that?
What was your? No, I was just saying boomers are better than millennials. It's a
Oh,
better
no,
generation.
I
Pretty sure.
wouldn't say that. I got two millennial sons, and in many ways, they're smarter than me, but they're more naive than me. They're not street smart. They're smarter, but not street smart. Because we didn't let them live on the streets. We took them to the fucking suburbs. But what we were talking about was Donald Trump hiring these fucking dopes
Oh,
that were
that's right.
unqualified and inept. And he
I
said they were
remember
the
my point.
greatest ever. And then he fires them and says exactly what they are.
I got you. I got you. So here's my point with that one, right? What Donald Trump understands is the art of the sale, right? We can agree to that. So, and when you understand selling people, he's selling a jury. He's selling I mean, he's selling them on idea, right? And who better to get across the good idea? And I'm not saying this like in any sort of way, but Alina Habba is kind of a hottie. Like, let's face it, right? And she's well spoken and she's quite intelligent.
Uh,
So why wouldn't he leverage all those great things? Like, guys, good looks will get you a long way. Look at me. I'm the best looking debater on TikTok. Look how far it's gotten me.
yeah, you're
No,
sitting in a
I'm
van
just
talking
kidding.
to a guy in his living room. So yeah,
That
bully
was
for
kind of
both of
weird.
us.
But no, hang on. Let's face it, though. Let's face it. It's thousands of people are going to watch this video, so it is what
Yeah,
it is.
it is what it is. Yeah,
Yeah, you're big.
and that's one of
And
the
then when you
things.
come onto my live, it's
Yeah,
going to be when you come onto my live, it's going to be at least averaging about 50,000 people. And with
50,000
you,
views
I
or
think you know what. With
50,000
you, I
people.
think it's no 50,000 average. So when I shut the live off, they give you an average count 50,000. It'll be about like 500 sitting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
no, I'm
but when
happy.
you come,
I'm happy
it'll
to
be a
do it.
thousand plus.
Well,
Yeah, it'll be a thousand, and I'll have the best etiquette. We'll have the same exact rhythm we're having now. Because some
well,
people, like, I will have to cut. Yeah, so you know how it goes. So,
well, people get emotional and they get mad and they want to fight, and I don't get emotional about things. I just, I get a head of steam up and I get momentum, but I'm not emotional about shit. It's just not worth it. One of the things talking about, we're only going to go a few more
wait,
minutes, but
Boomer, hang on. Don't you think that's like one of the big issues with your generation, though? You don't show enough emotion.
um, it's not that I don't show emotion. It's just when it comes to decision. Yeah, no, I think that's probably true. I think, rational boomer, it's an oxymoron. I think that I'm a little different than a lot of. When I started doing Rational Boomer, I thought I was one of the few that was normal, and the rest of the boomers were fucking kooks. I really did think that. But then as I went along, and now I have like 292,000 people following me on TikTok, I realized that I have a lot of people that are like mine. So I'm feeling better about the boomers. We still have some goofballs and some crazies. I know people that are my age, and I can't fucking even grasp where they grew up in the same place I did, and the shit they say is just fucking obnoxious. And they know what I do on the internet, so they usually either don't talk about politics or they don't talk to me at all, which is cool. I'm fine with that. I just wanted to talk about yeah, boomers are fucking weird to a large extent, but there are quite a few that are normal. But
One of the toughest, greatest generations.
yeah, I'm kind of see the thing is I'm on the young end of the boomers. Boomers go 1946 to 1964. I was born in
Even
60.
tougher.
So I'm closer to Gen X, which I don't understand either.
Wait, so
But
how old was your dad when he had you?
20.
20. Yeah, he was young, exactly. So you 20 is like super young. So you guys get almost grew up in the same like,
Yeah, pretty
type of like ideals. It
pretty
wasn't
pretty
too
much.
much of a difference because he raised you pretty much the same. So
Yeah, yeah. My mom actually did the raising. My dad was too busy with other shit. But um,
hmm.
now in terms of these criminal trials coming up, um, we can say whether he's guilty or not guilty. Doesn't it trouble you that all of the witnesses that are going to be testifying against Donald Trump are Republicans and or close ties to Donald Trump? There are no Democrats screaming lies or whatever. It's all his own people rolling on him because they're trying to save their ass from going to jail. Doesn't that worry you in those trials?
It absolutely does worry me. And it reminds me of something, right? It reminds me of Caesar when he got stabbed in the back by all his closest members,
Yeah.
right? It reminds me of that same situation where, they're probably rhinos and Republican in name only, and they're trying to gain status and they're trying to gain favor because they're on the opposite side of the narrative, right? But I don't think all of them are rolling on him. And again, when it comes to Trump, so far what we've seen, and we saw the video from Jenna Ellis, the
Yeah.
what was it called? The one that was leaked.
Yeah.
That was good actually. That
Yeah.
actually
Jenna
shows us a lot.
and
Yeah,
Sidney
that
Powell.
tells us a lot.
Yeah.
That tells us a lot because the one thing it doesn't do is connect to Trump.
It specifies that Donald Trump said, I'm going to stay in office no matter what, which identifies the intent, which is absolutely important in a conviction. I mean, they're trying to establish intent, and that does show intent. So that's problematic for Donald Trump.
Wait, so again, and this has to be the last point because I gotta go wake my roommate up. He has a job at 10. But
Yeah, I got to go too.
so but the problem is here, right? You're gonna have to prove, and we're gonna get into the nitty-gritty on this one. So you can't link that Trump actually said this thing, right? You're basing it off of a good thing. Like you're moving the case forward, right? But you're still not linking it to Trump, meaning you got it to his closest man, the person he communicates with closely through text and whatever, right? But you still haven't linked it to Trump.
Well, unless there's corroboration there, and there probably is if they're going to use that evidence. Last point, and then I'll let you go. The one devastating thing here is the one guy that did roll. If nobody else rolled, this guy is a problem. Mark Meadows. He is the middleman. He is the one that was the middleman or the conduit between all the people in Congress, Ginny Thomas, Roger Stone, and Donald Trump. Every communication went through him. So he's not only flipping on Donald Trump, he's flipping on everybody that sent emails and text and phone calls and stuff. That's a big problem. That's almost a done deal in that case. You can't get any better
Well,
witness than
Boomer,
that.
it was well, that's true, but almost. So we'll have to see. But I look forward to having you on my live, and I thank you so much for the opportunity and the time to speak with you. Honestly, it was I really appreciate it. I thought it was going to be a lot more combative, and I think we were able to like get to a place where we could actually have a good conversation, which is rare. And
Yeah.
I think that you're a gentleman and a scholar, and I use those terms loosely,
Yeah, I know.
loosely.
I know.
And I appreciate you for having me, brother. Like, what are your thoughts? What are your,
Well,
are
no,
we still recording? Yeah,
yeah, we're still recording right now. But I think that, I always, on this podcast, I generally have listeners on. I don't have other people coming on. I have listeners coming on because I like to get their insights and their perceptions. Um, and I always tell them, and I'll tell you too, if you ever want to come back on, just send me an email. We'll do it again. I have no problem with that at all. I think it's something people want to hear, and I'm more than welcome to have you back. And I'm happy to come on the live. In fact, maybe I'll do a live too at some point. I don't do as many as you do because I've got too many Trump-la-fuck trolls coming in and trying to take me down. And last few times I've done it, I haven't really had that problem. But so I may do some more lives too. But yeah, no, I think it's good to have the conversation. We don't agree on anything. Um, just, and I mean this with all the respect I can give. I still think you're a dipshit. And I don't agree with the fuck all of what you say. But we had the conversation. I know a lot of people want to hear it, so I'm going to get this put together, put out there so people can do it. Let me know when we're going to do the live. I'll show up and we'll do what we do there.
perfect. That's all I could ask for, my friend. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. And the holidays are coming, guys. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas, and a Happy New Year to everybody here. Have a great night. Thank you so much, sir.
I
I
appreciate it.
appreciate it.
Those of you listening, thanks for taking the time out of your day to listen. Hope you have a great day, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.